Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be listing off my top 5 favorite Swedish metal bands. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So first up, in at number 5 is Sabaton. Now unfortunately I don't own any of their albums yet. I just have never gotten around to it yet. But yeah, oh my god. So there's people that say that they're, heavy metal or whatever, but honestly, from what I've heard, I don't know. To me, they kind of seem like a combination of both elements of heavy metal and power metal. Like the vocals are very much heavy metal, but with a almost a power metal, like the way they are, the way, how like kind of just the way they're done. I don't know. I just can't really explain it that well. As well, just the overall feel of songs and stuff. Like they have this very like power metal esque kind of epic nature to them. But the musicality for the most part is heavy metal, but sometimes can be have a to me they kind of have a slight power metal influence on certain songs and stuff. But yeah, just a great band. I absolutely love them. I actually got to see them live during the Judas Priest tour. They actually opened for Judas Priest when I saw them during the Judas Priest 50th anniversary tour. And yeah, that's the first time I ever saw Sabaton live, and they were absolutely amazing. They had the whole stage set up like a tank and everything, and it was really awesome. But yeah, Sabaton is at my number 5. All right, coming in at my number 4 is Necrophobic. Amazing black and death metal band. I'd have to say that probably my favorite era of them is particularly this EP. Has my favorite vocalist. What's his name again? Stefan Harvick, who for some reason didn't do a lot of stuff. Like he did vocals for this band on this EP, and then for another band I can't remember the name of for one EP as well, and then that's it. Like there's literally nothing. Like on Metal Archives, his credits are only for those two bands, those two bands, and just those two releases. This one and then the other EP from the other band. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't do anything else after that, or if he did, maybe it's just not cataloged or for some reason. But yeah, this band is absolutely amazing, and even the other stuff with the other vocalists. This band had, I think, like maybe 3 or 4 different vocalists over time. Most of their discography is absolutely amazing. Like I'd say maybe like the last, not the last couple, like around like the early to mid 2000s, or maybe a couple of albums that weren't too good. But other than that, like everything else they've ever put out is it ranges from good to great. Early on, they would have a lot more raw sound. The sound would be a bit more raw on the first couple of releases. The demos and stuff, and even this EP. Stuff would be a bit more. I guess. I don't know. They would have like a more raw kind of sound. Yeah, sure, they have some like elements that they would have later on that they're more known for. But this is basically a more stripped down version of this band. Later on, I think starting with their first full length album, they would get a bit more melodic, a bit more sort of bombastic, I guess. But either variation of the band, whether it be the more traditional, standard, not standard, but the more stripped down raw version of the band, or the more like melodic and bombastic version later on. Both are fantastic. Both versions of this band are fantastic. And most of the vocalists are great as well, except for maybe one. can't remember his name, but I think he was on the. Was he on the? I know. I think he was on one of the albums later on, after the first one. I can't remember which one exactly. But yeah, overall fantastic band, great black and death metal band. I highly recommend checking out this EP, The Call, as well as their first album. And I'd say their most recent album as well. All right, coming in at number 3 is the black metal band, or first wave black metal band, Treblinka. Yeah, another band I just never got around to reviewing yet. I got this box set a while back. It contains everything they ever recorded. This band unfortunately didn't last too long. I think 1985 or 6 to around 89-ish. They did reform around 1990 as the band Tammet. They started off in terms of the Tammet stuff as sort of similar to this, but a little bit more towards this, the 90s death metal style. Then they would basically break away from metal entirely over time, and they got really weird. Like their musical choices were just I don't know, confusing to say the least. But back when they were Treblinka, the awesome first wave black metal band, they were absolutely killer. This actually is a box set that contains their first demo, their second demo, their EP, their 2-track EP, and then a couple of live shows as well as rehearsal recordings. Yeah, amazing band. They kind of have they have a weird, unique sound to them. They're not like, say, like Morbid or other bands around this time like this, or even Bathory. Like, their very first demo kind of has a lot of elements of, like, maybe even, like, I don't know how to describe them. I really don't know how to describe this band, accurately, because their sound is just really unique. They have a lot of different, like, really odd, but cool sort of, like, instrumentation choices, especially on their first and second demos. But they have some really cool, heavy riffs, great eerie solos, great raw, gritty production, but also at the same time, it's, a little bit refined, not too much, but just enough to where everything, it's raw and gritty, but everything's still audible. Also great vocals by Hell Slaughter, really underrated black metal vocalist. Yeah. Another band I highly recommend. If you haven't checked this band out yet, definitely do so. And also this box set is really the only way you could listen to this band. Their individual releases are very hard to find, but even if you do, they're really expensive. But I got this box set for $100 maybe. Yeah, amazing first wave black metal band, and also one of the very few first wave black metal bands that actually sound like black metal. Most of them are like just very heavy thrash with like the black metal style lyrics and just look. But they have the lyrical content of black metal, they have the look of black metal, and they have the sound of black metal. I think the only other first wave black metal bands that have that, I have all three of that, are Bathory and Morbid. But yeah, awesome Swedish first wave black metal band. Definitely check it out. Where am I? Number 2. Yeah, number 2 is, hold on. Oh, it came out of the sleeve. All right. Anyway. Number 2 is Bathory. Yeah. Bathory is, I mean, come on, they're one of the greatest black metal bands of all time. Although, as everyone knows by now. They would unfortunately break away from the black metal stuff and go more towards Viking metal. And yeah, honestly, I don't like the Viking metal stuff. I don't like Viking metal in general. They did a couple of thrash albums which were horrible. But their first couple of albums, the self-titled debut album, The Return, Under the Sign of Black Mark, and to a certain extent, Blood, Fire, Death. Although I don't really consider that album a fully fledged black metal album. It's sort of black metal, going on the edge of the Viking metal stuff. But yeah, just an absolutely fantastic band. Korthon, absolutely fantastic vocalist, guitarist. I think he did at least on the first couple of albums, he did almost everything except for maybe the keyboards. Um, but yeah, also Bathory is known as at least the black metal stuff, just being called Korthon doing almost everything. I think on this album and maybe The Return, I guess this album, I think there was another person that did the keyboards, but he did mostly everything else. But very early on, it was a fully fledged like multiple person band, and then just Korthon for a while, and then around the Viking metal era, I think like the last couple Viking metal era albums, it was a fully fledged multi-person band again, rather than just Korthon. But yeah, the first couple albums, black metal classics. This is my favorite of the bunch. I mean, Massacre, fantastic song. Woman of Dark Desires. Call from the Grave is probably my first or second favorite song. I don't know. It's kind of tied with Enter the Eternal Fire. One of the most epic, evil, cavernous, just diabolic sounding black metal songs ever. Chariots of Fire, fantastic. 13 Candles, Of Doom, Ecomanthorn. But yeah, overall, absolutely fantastic black metal band. I also highly recommend you check out their very early stuff. Their appearance on the first and second Scandinavian Metal Attack compilation albums. Their early versions of certain songs are fantastic as well as some previously unreleased songs that I think some of them, or almost all of them, ended up on the compilation albums called Jubileum. Jubileum 1, 2, and 3. But there's a bootleg album out there that is a compilation of all the early Bathory stuff that never made it to a full album or anything. And then there's the stuff from the two Scandinavian Attack compilation albums as well. Highly recommend you for anyone who hasn't yet, definitely check out that stuff as well. But yeah, Bathory is at number 2. Coming in at number 1, my favorite Swedish metal band of all time is Morbid. Yeah, Morbid, again, just like with Treblinka and Bathory, one of the very few actually black metal sounding first wave black metal bands. Although I think it may be because these particular bands were near the end of the first wave of black metal, and black metal is finally finding its own little identity and becoming an actual genre rather than just a collective of multiple different genres just clumped into one category because of just like either a stylistic thing or because of the lyrics. Yeah. Anyway, Morbid, absolutely fantastic. Very few bad releases. I think the only bad release was the Last Supper demo, mainly because Dead wasn't doing the vocals, and because the vocalist was bad, and because the style changed and it was just very generic thrash metal at that point. And it was basically not even the same band anymore. Yeah, their debut demo, December Moon, absolutely fantastic. Their live album, Live in Stockholm, fantastic. The Death Execution 3 EP is fantastic, and also the Ancient Morbidity EP, also really good, and then the awesome compilation album Year of the Goat is probably my favorite release they ever put out, or I guess that was ever put out. I shouldn't say that they put it out, because they didn't. The band was, non-existent at that point in time. For almost every release except for December Moon and the Last Supper demo. But anyway, yeah, absolutely fantastic ghoulish vocals by Dead. Great guitar work by the many different guitarists that were in this band. Drumming is fantastic as well. The bass playing by what's his name again? Yeah, Dr. Shits. Fantastic bass playing. One of my favorite bass players, and also just very underrated. His bass work in this demo in particular, and the live stuff, are really underrated. Yeah, absolutely fantastic band. My number one favorite Swedish metal band. Yeah. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.